Alright, I already know the topic of this video is already gonna turn off a lot of people, mostly because there's only, I guess, a specific group of people, half the world maybe, can relate. But I just wanted to talk a little bit about being biracial or just more than two races, whether you're, white, half black, half this, half that, just in general. It's just a struggle. So for me, I'm half Polynesian, half Cuban. So obviously Cuban, we already know what that is. Hispanic, Spanish, not to be confused with Puerto Rican or Mexican. But what I really wanted to kind of focus more on was the Polynesian side. And so if you don't know what a Polynesian is, it's an islander. You got Hawaii. I'm already saying this wrong. There's a whole lot. So we got Tongan, Samoan, Fiji, and there's just a bunch of islands. Think of the Rock, or here's another one. Half of the NFL linemen, defensive linemen, and linebackers. Anybody who is not black and has a really complicated long last name, they are Polynesian. All right. And the reason why I want to talk more about the Polynesian side is because just in general, I feel like when you are the sum of two completely different cultures, aka your parents are vastly different culture and ethnicity, and in result, the kids have to deal with both sides. And so, a little context: I grew up in Miami, Florida, which is where all the Cubans are, and so just Florida in general is just a lot of Spanish people. And so I grew up around my dad's family, who is all Cuban. They're all from Cuba, all escaped and found refuge in Florida because that's just what the Cubans do. And so my whole life I've always grown up, around that. And another thing that helps is, for most of my life, I've really always looked more Hispanic than Polynesian, and so in result, people automatically just assume, Mexican, this, that, whatever, which is good, right? It's always nice to look the part. But as an adult, I live in Utah now, and so in Utah, if you don't know, but if you do know, there's a lot of Polynesians that live here. And so whenever I am out and about, and you see someone, usually, all right, I don't know, it's not really like this for white people, but if you're ethnic and you're in public, right, and you see another person that you just know is the same race as you, it's almost a little, you give them a little eye contact, you give them a little head nod, right? That's just, in all minorities, that's just usually the thing. And so whenever I see other Polynesian people, I do that. But the problem is, I don't look the part, right? I am not 6'2". I'm not 300 pounds. I'm short and I'm skinny, and I don't have any, tribal tattoos. I'm not the darkest person. I'm just basically not what a stereotypical, islander should look like. And the reason why I'm mentioning this is because the older I get, the more I long for wanting to connect with that side more. Not that I've forgotten, the Spanish side, because I've just grown up around my whole life, so that's always been like second nature. But the Islander side, I've just had no connection with. As a kid, I, we'll call them road shows. We'd do road shows where we're just dancing, do like luau cotton dances, fire dances, and things like that. And so I, as a kid, was exposed to it, but for the most part, living in Florida, it was all just the Spanish side. And of course, it's no fault to my parents, right? It's not their fault or anything like that. But because I'm surrounded by other Islander people, it makes me feel like an imposter. I don't know. It's weird to say. Not sure if anybody else feels that way. No, I know a lot of people might think of, someone who's half white, half black, but they look white or they look black. A good example, Logic. If you don't know who Logic is, he's a rapper. There's always a thing, he's half white, half black, but he looks no black at all. And so he always, I remember there was like a meme going around that was like, it's not a Logic song unless he mentions that he's biracial. And so I can relate, because there's nothing worse than someone telling you, oh, for me, oh, you're Polynesian? You don't look Polynesian. Do you know how shitty that feels? Right? And I'm sure, a lot of people can relate to that. Like, you don't look white enough. You don't look black enough. You don't look Spanish enough. You don't act enough. And so it's just such a gut punch, because it's like, but I am that. I don't need to prove that to you. But the fact that you are saying that to me means that I'm not showing who I am. I don't know. It's just, I like to think that I have pride and be proud of who I am and where I come from. And so it's just something that I feel like I always struggle with, is trying to identify with or connect with my my heritage on both sides equally or constantly, without feeling like I'm an imposter, or like I said, biracial is a word for it. Islanders, we say Afakasi. So when you're half something, half Islander, half Polynesian. And so I just hate when people, or just when I feel like I can't connect to my roots. It makes me feel disconnected. And my kids, and so my wife is white, and so now my kids are half white, and then a quarter Spanish, quarter Polynesian. And I don't want them to go through the same, identity crisis that I have had constantly. I want them to grow up and feel connected to all sides and be proud of who they are, no matter how they look like or how they act. I want them to be proud. And so I feel like this weird pressure that I need to especially show them who their dad is culturally, right? Because obviously I don't look like their mom, and I don't look like anybody else for the most part that live around us, including my wife's family. And so I just want my kids to understand that it's okay to be different, because their dad was different. And it's okay to have those differences and to be proud of them. And like I said, a lot of pressure on me, and not that I need to go straight up live on the islands and crack coconuts with my head and only speak Spanish, and no, but I just want to show them that they have this side of them that is always going to be with them, and it's important that they connect to all of their sides, including their mom's side. And so I don't know, I have just been thinking a lot about diversity and culture and heritage a lot, and how much I've been struggling with it. But thanks for listening to my rant, and if you have any questions about how this crazy mix happened and my parents and me, just comment. If you're an Islander and you stayed, that's cool. We get a Chihu down there, and comment what island you're from, and if you're not an Islander, just say what's up. Just comment the number 1, because you are number 1.